Kendall Scudder has been recently elected as our Texas Democratic Party chair. And believe me, he is a breath of fresh air. I've had experience with him for several years, and he is a progressive, but he is not a progressive that is going to come and tear things down. He's going to come in, keep the best parts, fix it, and lead it to a more aggressive stance. Kendall Scudder believes that places like Waco, Texas are just as important as Houston, Texas, or Dallas. We are not going to be ignored with Kendall Scudder. As a county chair, every time I've needed something, he's always been on the short list to get an answer or help, and he gives it immediately and tirelessly. So I want to invite Kendall Scudder to come up on the stage and end the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, how are you? What's happening, Waco? I grew up in East Texas with two brassy mamas that are tougher than a $2 steak. And they taught me to never walk away from a fight worth having. This fight, the fight we're waging today to preserve our democracy, is the fight worth having. And make no mistake about it, this fight is not one that is left versus right. It is a fight that is top versus bottom. The richest man in the world is in the White House right now, gouging you, working people, of the opportunity to succeed, gouging you of every social safety net that was put into place to help you succeed in your life, and guarding every dollar for himself that he can. Their greed knows no bounds. The greed of these billionaires will never stop. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every veteran. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every teacher. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every working man and woman in this country if we do not stand up and fight back against the oligarchy that has their boots on our necks. Donald Trump didn't just push through the largest tax increase that we have seen on middle-class families in my lifetime, but his cohort, Greg Abbott, just pushed through a fundamental dismantling of the Texas public school system. Coupons for rich people to send their kids to fancy private schools, paid for on the backs of you and your kids at the expense of their futures. I come from a family where my granddaddy had to share a pair of boots with his 5 brothers and walk to his public school on roads that didn't exist. They were cattle paths. The only world where someone like that has a grandson that becomes the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party is through the Texas public school system. The billionaires know this. They know this, and they don't want you or your kids to get education. They want to keep them uneducated so that they can keep their wages low and keep your kids in factories and on assembly lines and on farms and not give them the same opportunity you had to uplift yourself up, to work hard and achieve the American dream. They are selfish, and they are going to pick your pockets until you step up and say enough is enough. You understand that because you're here today. And if you are a Republican here today, I just want to be honest with you. I'm not asking you to admit that you're wrong, and I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to admit you were lied to. I'm asking you to admit that the billionaires did what billionaires do. They exploited your labor. They preyed on your fears. They drug you around to try to make a fool out of you, and we're here welcoming you in. You're welcome to our coalition, where we're fighting back for the people, the working men and women who have been shut out of this government, who have been shut out of this process to have the opportunity to get their seat at the table. It's a very terrifying time that we live in. They have just fired 80,000 people from the Department of Veterans Affairs. They're dismantling the Department of Education. They're proposing bills to raise your taxes and cut taxes on the richest among us. In Austin, They're pushing things like eliminating taxes on stock trades. Isn't that what we all have been asking for? As the chairman of the Democratic Party here in Texas, I have to make a point to you. Who here was around in the 90s and the 80s? So you might be able to remember this if you did. Raise your hand if you feel like your taxes are lower now than they were in the 80s and 90s. Raise your hand if you feel like you're safer in your community now than you were in the 80s and in the 90s. Raise your hand if you think that our schools are better today than they were in the 80s and 90s. Raise your hand if you think that our bridges and our roads are better today than they were in the 80s and 90s. Well, the only thing that's different is that the Republicans have been running this state into the ground for 30 years. And playing on culture wars, trying to convince you that immigrants and trans people are the reason that your schools are falling apart. The reason your schools are falling apart is because their donors and their owners have decided that they are worth more than you. The way we rebuild Texas, the way we get it back to the glory where we had the bridges and roads that were the envy of the world, the best schools in the nation, some of the lowest tax rates, which now, by the way, we're in the top 10 highest tax states in the country. The way we get our state back to where it's working for working people is making sure that we're helping all these people behind me today that are organizing for the Democratic Party here in Texas. I'm sorry, if you're not a Democrat, there ain't a party for you except for ours these days. The Republican Party is dead, and we're welcoming you to our coalition. Please respect everyone at the table, and let's fight together to capture and rebuild a democracy that's worthy of the working men and women of this state. My understanding is that we've got a march to do. Is that right, Mr. Chairman? And I'm going to pass the mic over to somebody to instruct you on how to do that. But before I hand that over, I want to thank you and the McLennan County Democratic Party for all of your work putting this sucker together. It's absolutely incredible. An honor to be here. An honor to serve as the first millennial chair of the Texas Democratic Party. And I'll be here with you every step of the way as we fight to rebuild this state. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody.